Okay, we are back live with another Between the Pages book chat, and today we have fantasy author Claudia Klein here with us to talk about her book, The Heir. And I'm going to turn it over to her now and let her introduce herself. So take it away.
Hi, I'm Claudia Klein, and I am a somewhat newbie author. I published my book, The Heir, summer 2019, and I'm working on the sequel right now. And when I'm not writing, I'm a stay at home mom.
Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about the book. What's it about? It's epic fantasy, right?
Yes, it's epic fantasy, so it's like your typical high fantasy, Lord of the Rings type stuff. And it's kind of about two sisters who get separated in a war. They're the princesses of the country. They get separated in a war, and then it's about two brothers who are princes of a different country, and they're both trying to kill themselves, kill each other. I should say, kill each other.
So it's kind of like you're contrasting. There's a like the war between countries, and there's also a war between brothers as well.
Somewhat. The war was started by one of the brothers who becomes the king when his father dies in the war. And his brother kind of wants to end the war, turn the world back to normal, and become king in the process.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about these characters. What are they like? Their personalities.
All right, so Kat is the first character. I think she's the first character we meet, and she is kind of your typical tomboy. So she's the crown princess of the country Arbonad, which is being attacked by Erlingu. And when her father and brother go out to fight in the war, she's like, I want to go fight. My brother's younger than me. I should be able to fight too. I was trained as an archer and everything. So she dresses up as a boy and goes out and fights in the war and gets captured. And then we have Lucy, who is her younger sister, and she's kind of the exact opposite personality of Kat. She's really gentle, and she follows her father's orders and escapes to the island country of Everseen, which is actually a big part of the plot line. Everseen is actually about to fall into the civil war, so she's not as safe as she was hoping she would be. And then we have Prince Thomas, who is the second in line. Well, after the father dies, he's the second in line to the throne. So he's the younger brother of Erlingu, and he has always just wanted to be king. And he was his father's favorite, so he just thinks it's unfair that his older brother got to be king instead. Then we have Eric, who is the villain of the story, and he becomes king. His father's randomly killed. We think it's because Eric told them to kill his father, but we're not sure. And so he becomes king, and he continues this war, just trying to take over all of the other four countries of the world. Um, and he is actually looking for a darker power that we learn more about in the story.
Ooh, we like darker powers. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the world. I mean, it sounds like it's based on a bit of a medieval vibe, traditional fantasy. So what's it like?
Yeah, so my world, I was kind of going with like the Hitler taking over the world type thing with Erlangen taking over the world. So they kind of represent Germany, but I also have the element of where Erlangen has invented the first guns, and no other country has that, so they can easily win all their battles. So I know, I want to say the first guns originated, I think, in China, but then it was brought over by Spain, I think. But they're kind of Germany. And then uh, Arbonad, where the two princesses are from, Kat and Lucy, are kind of like your typical England. Um, Everything is just like an island country. I haven't really pinpointed a medieval island country for them. Um, and then let's see, we have Halifax is France, and they're kind of really stupid. The people there are just really, you don't want to live in that country. And then we have Anglois, who I never really assigned like a medieval equivalent to them, but they kind of team up with Erlingu and go and destroy the island country of Everseen. So it's your typical fantasy world, medieval type world.
Yeah, it sounds like a late medieval, almost little Renaissance with the guns and stuff in
Mm-hmm.
it as well. So that sounds interesting. Okay, so obviously there's a little bit about family dynamics in the book. So do you have any other like themes running through it?
Um, I would say so. I wrote the book wanting to write a story where the bad guy wins. So Thomas is he ends up being the good guy in the end, but I originally wanted to write him as like being the bad guy, where he was, but it ended up where he just defeated an even worse bad guy, which was his brother. Um, so I guess the overarching theme is that good wins in the end. Um, and I've never been asked this question, so I don't really have a good answer.
Well, that's okay. The good wins in the end. It's a great theme. Classic, in fact. So tell us a little bit about the villain without any spoilers. I mean, there's obviously more going on than meets the eye in the way of the powers underneath the war. So what's going
Mm-hmm.
on there?
Um, I don't really. I think he just kind of wants to be in control of more than just his country and wants to feel more in control because like his younger brother Thomas is a really powerful persona. And he's just kind of this little weakling, and he just wants to be more in control. So he teams up with a darker power that turns out to be a little mysterious in the entire book. Throughout the entire book, we learn more about him in book two. Um, and so Eric is just kind of this little weakling that wants to be in power. So he teams with the darker power to control more world.
Yeah, so some insecurity issues going on there, is there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was the hardest scene or type of scene for you to write in the book?
I would say the hardest was coming up with a good beginning scene. I had, several scenes that I wrote in the second draft, and I was expanding the novel. That I was like, this is a good first scene, and then I was like, no, this is an even better first scene. Then finally, I just kind of backed away from all the main characters and had kind of a invasion into Arbonad, Erlingu invading Arbonad scene that had nothing to do with any of the main characters. Was my first scene. So that was one of the hardest scenes. And then the second hardest was the scene where they're actually, trying to defeat Eric. That was really hard to write, and I'm still not really happy with how it ended, but I couldn't think of anything better.
Yeah, I think we all have scenes like that where we're not entirely happy with it. Okay, so what was your favorite scene to write in the book?
I would have to like reread the book to find that out. Um, I really like. I think one of my favorite scenes is when everything is during the Civil War, so all of the royalty except for Prince Marcus, who's the heir to the throne now, um, all of them kind of escape into the jungle, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, Lucy, I love you," and they have no other time for words, so she just kind of leaves, and there's this whole like, "He loves me, okay." Didn't see that coming.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay, so do any of your secondary characters have a little bit of a quirky personality or steal scenes?
I don't know. I would say Andrew is who's Thomas's bodyguard. I haven't talked about him yet. He's kind of like my secondary character. I would call all four of the characters I mentioned my main characters, and he's just the bodyguard. And the funny thing is, um, he has a habit of kind of stealing Thomas's girl.
That's definitely a quirk. So do you have a favorite character in the book?
I think Lucy turned out to be my favorite character. And it's funny because when I wrote the first draft, she wasn't really in the first draft at all, and then I started writing her in as a completely different relationship to the other three characters. Because I was like, I need to make this book longer. It's going to be super short. So I started writing her in, and then I just, developed her in the second and third drafts. And she's my favorite character, I think, because she's more gentle um, and not as like in your face, I'm going to kill you type person. She's not like that at all.
So the rest of the characters are a little like that?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, so which character in your book would you like to hang out with in real life?
I really want to meet Prince Marcus because I'm kind of in love with him.
Oh, do tell. We want to know about Prince Marcus now.
So Prince Marcus is the heir of Eversteen's throne, and his father, when Lucy lands on the island, his father is very ill and dying. And he's just, he has two sisters, but they kind of ignore Lucy for some reason. They're just kind of set in their habits and what they do every day. But he like takes time out of his busy schedule to befriend her, and he's just really nice and welcoming to her. And I'm really excited about where the relationship is going.
Okay, so we have a comment here from one of the viewers. She wants to know if your husband knows that you're in love with Maria.
I think he would be fine with it because he doesn't exist in real life.
Okay, so what are your characters afraid of?
I would say Eric is definitely afraid of losing the crown, and Thomas is more afraid that like whatever he does to try and kill his brother to take the crown, he'll be framed for, and then he won't be able to get the crown in the end, which is his end goal. I'm not sure about Kat and Lucy what they're afraid of. I think for the longest time they think both of each other is dead. So once they rejoin, I think they're kind of afraid of losing each other again.
Okay, so what are your characters' best childhood memories?
Um, I know Lucy definitely has some flashbacks to her childhood memories, and she just kind of enjoys remembering the time when their mother was alive. I think their mother dies like 3 years before the story, and they used to, excuse me, they used to go to this the uh, they used to go to this palace by the seaside as a family every year, and just have had a really good quiet time getting away from all the politics and stuff.
Okay, so what were your inspirations and reasons for writing the book?
Um, well, I wanted to write a story where the bad guy dies, or the bad guy. What is it? Story where the bad guy wins. Um, and I found out that I'm not the type of person who can write a story like that. And I don't really know where I got the ideas, other than it was just kind of a bunch of craziness all, all wrapped into one story that somehow worked out.
Yeah, well, craziness is often the best inspiration I find. So, okay, so well, obviously you write fantasy, but are there any other genres you've written in or would like to write in?
I would like to write a dystopian because the funny thing is I write fantasy, but I actually mainly read like dystopian or sci-fi. Um, and I'm just now starting to get into reading the more like modern fantasy authors. I really want to try and write dystopian, and I have some ideas, but they're kind of like political ideas addressing issues of our world today. So I'm not sure like how well that would sell, or if that would sell really well or really bad. So
I don't know. I think most dystopians are political in one way or another.
yeah.
So yeah, you never know. Okay, so do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to talk about?
So yeah, the book two, it has a working title of The Crown. It is coming out hopefully before my baby comes in June. He's due in June, and I'm hoping to get this done and published before he comes, because otherwise it's going to be a lot longer of a wait. And right now that is the only thing that I that I'm working on to publish. And right now I have another trilogy kind of in the works that's been on the back burner since I started with Erlingu. And I'm hoping to get that done in the next couple of years. But definitely with more babies coming, I've learned with my first child that I basically can only type when she's asleep, which limits how much I can get done in a year. And I know with like indie authors, you need to write like one or two books a year to be successful. So I'm thinking you'll see The Crown for me come like around May, June, and then you'll see another book for me maybe 2 or 3 years from now. So
Okay, so any sneak peeks on the trilogy?
yeah. it has a working title of Ender Lithorian, and I didn't know when I came up with that name that it's actually real Tolkien Elvish. Um, in I can't tell you what it means now. It means like Middle Earth uh, flower or something like that. Um, so I might have to change that because I know Tolkien's Elvish is copyrighted. But I'm really in love with that name. But it's basically a world of elves.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here, and we have some things to look forward to from you in the future. And I'll let you tell everyone where they can find you and your books.
Yeah, so you can buy my book exclusively on Amazon. I am on Kindle Unlimited. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
I'm on Kindle Unlimited, and you can find me. I have a Facebook page at Claudia Klein Author. I have an Instagram page at Claudia Klein Author. And if you want to email me, send me some fan mail. I believe my fan mail is claudiakleinauthor@gmail.com.
Okay, so thank you for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and your book sounds wonderful.
Thanks. It was good to chat with you too.
Okay, and between the pages, we'll be back tomorrow with some dystopian sci fi, actually. And so join us then. And that's all for now. Bye.